welcome everybody to the meeting for the Greater Gwent Joint Committee. I'd like to move on to the first thing on, well, before the first thing on the agenda, I would like to thank everybody who attended this morning to the visit of the Crem. And I don't know if anyone's saying I can't hear anything.
No, I can't hear.
Hello, can you hear us now?
I can hear everyone on the screen. I can't hear Steve, Evan.
I think the chamber's on silent, isn't it? Perhaps.
It shouldn't be. It's on. It's on. Yeah. Well, you're right now, Steve.
Yeah, can hear you now.
All right. Yeah. Mary had a little lamb. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That's a song. I won't answer that. I'll go back then. I'd like to, before we move on the agenda, I'd like to thank everybody who turned up this morning for the visit at the Crem in Torvine, which is my area, which is lovely, and to thank the staff and the people at the Crem for their diligence in showing us everything and having the knowledge and knowing exactly what was what, because we didn't have a clue when we walked in. So to thank you very much for that this morning. We now move on to item 1, which is apologies for absence. Have we got any?
Just do it, Ashley from Torvine.
Yeah, I know about that one. We then move on to item 2.
And Councillor Howells, please.
For that, right? Thank you. Thank you for that. We then move on to item 2, which is declarations of interest. Has anybody got any declaration? No. Somebody just come on. Right, you've got any declarations before we move on to the next one? That's great. We'll then move on to item 3, which are the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 3 to 4. I think there's something in that which we've got to agree on.
So, as discussed, so as discussed in the previous committee, Councillor Howells mentioned wanting more substance in the minutes. We have asked for feedback from committee members, and we only had one comment, which was Councillor Howells herself. So it's up to the committee to vote on whether they're happy with the style currently, or whether they would like more content and what content they would like in the minutes.
Does anybody like to comment about the way things are, or do they want change, or has anybody got any?
Chair, I'm quite happy with them as they are.
Yeah, I'd second that, Chair.
Yeah.
Did you want to come in? Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say I do tend to agree with Councillor Howells that they're a little bit brief and perhaps a little bit more in there would be helpful.
Is it worth us having a vote on it now?
So, obviously, where Councillor Howells isn't here, I think under the committee guidance is that each two councillors vote as an authority, so essentially one vote. So we could hold the vote now, as we have Councillor Forsey here that representing Newport. Councillor Forsey, I think I sent the minutes to Rheoli and Howells. What would you like to see in the minutes? Maybe we would, if that's easy to vote on, what would be the preferred option for them?
Do you think perhaps we should hold this over to the next meeting, and that we could all have a bit more of a think about it and defer to the next meeting?
Again, I suppose this is a guide for us. So in the Governance and Audit Committee in Newport, we do the minutes slightly more like there's more information and more context in it. So maybe it's worth committee looking at those, because that's an example of the minute style that has been changed since we've introduced them. So if I send a copy of the previous ones to committee members, they can have a look at it and maybe then come back and we would vote on whether we keep the style as they are currently or move to a style like that. That works for everyone.
Are members happy to do that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to do that. If we do that, then send it out to all the members and get a response and perhaps a deadline, and then we can work from that. So thank you for that anyway. Is there anything else on the minutes that needs to be covered by anybody? No? Are we happy to all agree that? Yep. Thank you. Now we move on to item 5, which is the recycled metal scheme. That is page 19 to 26. Who's going to lead on that bit? Oh, sorry. But yeah, I ticked it off, the wrong one. Sorry, it's number 4, I've been corrected. It's budget proposal 26-27 and a fees review.
Yep, that's me, thank you.
Sorry?
That's me, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for
Thank
doing that,
you.
yeah. So it's
Okay.
on pages 5 and 18. Has anybody got any response in regard to any of that information? All right. Yeah. Would you like to say?
I'm going to present the report. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So budget proposals 26-27 and the fee review. As we said, that's going to be on pages. Well, I'm not sure what page. I think you just said a different page to my example, so I won't quote page numbers. So what I wanted to do was to ask members to approve the 26-27 budget for the crematorium, agree a 2% fee increase for this financial year 26-27, and agree a £450,000 distribution for the financial year 25-26, which is what we'd budgeted for. So I'm just going to jump straight into the financial update for the 25-26 accounts, which on my version is page 2, which is the financial summary. So the current forecast outturn indicates a surplus of £355,000, which, as you can see, is very close to the original budget that we set and considered a healthy position considering the impacts of the major works that we've had ongoing this year at the crematorium. If the outturn is as projected, the call on reserves would be less than £100,000 in order to meet the budgeted distribution level. So as projected, at the moment, it's looking very much on forecast for the budget position. So the summary of variance is on pages 3 to 4. For the income, the year-end forecast of £76,000 less income than budgeted reflects the change of service provision directly linked to the operational impacts of the capital works that have been going on and not as a direct result of lack of demand. When the budget was set, we anticipated the period of closure. We knew that there would be a period of closure due to the works, but we assumed a return to 7 full cremations per operational day for the remainder of the year. However, the reality has been that due to the ongoing works, during periods of reduced operation at the crematorium, lower cost direct cremations have been undertaken. So this has helped to maintain the continuity of service, but has resulted in the income levels being lower than we budgeted. So nothing to do with the lack of demand. It's just due to the ongoing works. Obviously, we've had to incorporate more direct cremations than we anticipated, which has kept the income coming in, which has been great. The premises overspend is due to the additional and unforeseen works of the roof replacement, which was £91,000, which was deemed necessary to ensure the continued safe operation of the facility. These costs have been partly offset by a rates credit that we had carried forward following a revaluation of the rateable value. We're not anticipating any ongoing pressures in future financial years, so once these capital works have been complete, everything should return to normal. Contribution to the repairs and renewals fund. The reserve was set up to ensure that essential works are funded without any adverse effect on the overall financial position, and therefore this financial year we have deferred the contribution to the fund to help with the unanticipated cost of the roof works. Supplies and services, the projected overspend is primarily due to any additional and unforeseen costs associated with the cremator replacement works. Again, these costs are considered to be one-off in nature. So as we've discussed in previous committee meetings, there were some additional costs that we incurred associated with the cremator replacement work. So we took the opportunity to do some extra bits and pieces during that period of works, as was discussed and agreed by committee previously. Capital financing, associated revenue financing costs for the cremator replacement works will be incurred from 26-27, so therefore this has resulted in a saving for this financial year. So overall then, just to summarise, the rates credit, saving in capital financing costs and deferring the contribution to the repairs and renewals reserve have all helped balance the overall bottom line, bringing it back to the anticipated budget position. So that is the update for the 25-26 accounts. Has anybody got any questions on that before I move on to 26-27? No? Okay, perfect, thank you. So moving on to the budget setting for 26-27 then, which is on page 4 and also appendix 2 on page 12 of the report. The draft budget position indicates a net surplus of £438,000 prior to any distribution or fee increase. With the recommendation of a 2% fee increase, the budget indicates a surplus of £467,000, which is then deemed sufficient to continue with the distribution of £450,000. Inflationary factors have been applied, and some key notes are: the employees' budget reflects the welcome return to a stable, fully staffed establishment following a prolonged period of staffing transition and operational disruption in prior years. The premises costs, reduction in the premises budget reflects the completion of the cremator replacement works and also the energy efficiencies anticipated as a result of the new cremator and also the installation of solar panels. So we're expecting to see a huge reduction in the energy costs that we have. Supplies and services have stayed the same. The budget is considered appropriate to support a return to normal operation. And then income projections are based on 6 full cremation services per day, with the lower cost direct cremations filling the least popular service times at the beginning or the end of the day. So that is the 26-27 budget. Before I move on to the fees, has anybody got any questions?
Anybody got any? Well, the only question I had on 25-26 about maintaining the reserves.
Yeah.
Are we all right on 26-27 for that, Joanne?
Yeah, so we've anticipated that we will continue to contribute to the reserve fund. So we've got the £100,000 contribution into the reserve, so that will start building that reserve fund back up again. I think just for this particular financial year, with the cost of the roof being £91,000, it didn't seem right to contribute £100,000, which would then reduce the surplus, and we would have to take more from reserves. So we would have been putting into reserves to take back out of reserves. So rather than doing that in and out, we've just deferred the cost.
Thank you for that. Has anybody got any questions you want to ask Joanne before she moves on? Yeah?
Councillor Howells.
Yeah, coming out.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I missed earlier, by the way, as well. I had a last-minute meeting put in that I had to attend, so I hope it all went well. It's a stupid question, sorry. What's meant by distribution?
So the distribution is what we give to the constituent authorities at the end of the financial year. So whatever the surplus is, we've budgeted the £450,000 will be distributed based on population stats for each authority.
Okay, so it's like the shareholder payback sort of thing?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
Any further questions?
No, not that I'm aware of, unless, have you got a question? Did you want to come in? No?
Okay, I just wanted to move on to the fees for 26-27 then, which is on page 5 of the report, and also appendix 1 and 2 on pages 10 and 11. So the current full cremation fee is £930, and budget assumptions are based on 1,524 cremations. Our nearest competitor, Langstone Vale, had a tiered pricing structure based on service time, with the most popular times being priced between 1,085 and 1,185. The options that we've put forward to committee are option 1, which is no fee increase. This may result in insufficient income to fully meet the budgeted distribution without the reliance on the reserve balances. Option 2, which is a 2% increase, which is the recommendation, which would increase the fee to £949 and could generate an additional 28,956 and also be sufficient to support the budgeted distribution. And then we've also got an option of a 4% increase, which would increase the fee to £967, additional income projected at 56,000. However, considering the recent service disruptions and the objective of maintaining fees at a reasonable and competitive level, we are recommending the 2% increase. So moving on to distribution, we're projecting a surplus of £355,000 for 25-26 and recommending that the committee approves the use of reserves if required. And reserves balances, just to note, are currently sitting at £959,000. So members today are asked to approve the 26-27 revenue budget, agree the recommendation of 2% fee increase and agree the distribution of £450,000 for the financial year 25-26.
Thank you, Joe, for that comprehensive report.
Thank you.
Has anybody got any questions before we look at the recommendations? You'd like to come in, Councillor?
Yeah, thanks. So we end up with a position where we're eating into reserves, which I suppose isn't generally where a business wants to be at. But do we see this as a sort of one-off situation, given the context of the capital works and maybe next year? Because I suppose even if we agreed it this year, I don't think we would want a situation where every year we're taking a bite out of reserves. Was just my only thought on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this year's definitely reflected the fact that we had the capital works taking place, so we knew that we were going to be that £100,000 down. So when we set the budget, committee agreed to use any shortfall from reserves for this financial year. But as you say, that wouldn't be the position going forward, which is why we're suggesting the 2% increase, as that would give us the sufficient surplus to then make the recommended distribution. So that's the reason for it. So the 26-27 budget, if we agree the 2% fee increase, which should give us a surplus of £467,000, which would then mean that we would have enough to cover the distribution without eating into reserves. So yeah, definitely this financial year has been the one-off, and we wouldn't suggest keeping eating into the reserves going forward. There would then be a discussion to reduce the distribution.
Okay, thanks.
Are we okay with that response, Councillor Owens?
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Sandler, would you like to come in?
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah, mine's from a purely financial point of view. Do you have the figures to hand of how the percentages of the population?
Yeah,
that would be of interest, please.
Yeah, so that's on page 13 of the report, Appendix 3.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Yeah,
I
and we've
clearly
got,
missed that.
so basically what they are is they're based on 2021 Stats Wales populations.
Yeah.
I've got the percentages. If you want the percentages, I can read them out.
Oh, yeah, go on then, please.
Yeah. So we've got Blaenau Gwent population 66,993. Giving a 13.89% distribution. Caerphilly, which is Islwyn only, is population 70,136, giving a 14.54% contribution of the distribution. Monmouthshire 93,194 population, giving a 19.32%. Newport 159,658 population, giving 33.09%, and Torvine is 92,453 population, giving a 19.16% distribution.
Okay, thank you. Cheers. That's really useful to have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Joe.
Thank you.
So, are members happy to agree there's two parts to this? One is the budget part. Are we happy to all agree that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Members in the chamber, yeah. And the second part is we happy to agree the 2% as recommended? Are we all in agreement with that?
Along with that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you, Joe, for that comprehensive report as usual.
As I do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And sorry about that. We'll move back on to item 5, which is recycle metal scheme. I think I had that in my brain this morning from the visit. But who's going to lead on that part? Yeah, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of the report today is to decide the charity or charities that will benefit from this year's metal recycling scheme. So nominations have to be made now by the end of January. So as you will be aware, at the last meeting we set a poll for you to vote. And in that poll, 5 charities have been highlighted, as we can see through the report. 3 of them in joint first place, those being Newport and Gwent, Samaritans, Crews Bereavement Support Gwent, the Lullaby Trust and Survivors of Bereavement by Suicide, along with the Hospice of the Valleys. So the recommendation of the report is that we choose 3 charities, but the options you get to vote on will be select all 5 with the highest percentage from the poll, select 4 charities from the 5 with the highest percentage from the poll, or select the 3 charities with the highest percentage from the poll. Our preferred option is obviously option 3, as this will result in a more substantial donation being made to charities involved. This enhanced donation can have a tangible effect to these community-based charities.
Are you looking for an answer from the members to which way they would like to respond to that? Has anybody got anything they would like to suggest about whether there should be the 3 or 4 or 5?
I'd move option 3, Chair.
Yeah. Anybody else got any other recommendation for that? Are we all happy to go for the highest 3?
Second that, Chair.
Yeah. There we are, and I think we got your answer.
Great.
So,
thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, because it'll be greatly appreciated to all the charities. I know I run one myself, so thank you for that. And thank you for members for your input for that. It's vitally important that we support our communities in whatever shape or form we can. So thank you for that. Anybody want to add anything else on that before we move on to the next item? The next item is facilities management, and we receive a report from a gentleman from North. Carl, would you like to come in, please?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I guess, first of all, I should let members know that we are no longer Newport North. We started Newport North in 2014. It was a failing service as part of Newport City Council, and they went into joint venture with Norfolk County Council and the North Group. We had 11 pretty successful years, even if I do say so myself. We started off as a £7 million business and ended up as a £30 million business. So the contract was coming to an end. So a couple of years ago, Newport City Council decided that they wanted to take it on themselves. And so we are now a wholly owned by Newport City Council Local Authority Trading Company, or LATCO. We've launched on January the 1st, so as you can imagine, there's a lot of work done, and still a lot of work to do. But hopefully, going forward now, we'll be continue to grow, especially we're in the Wales area. The company is now called Cyson Cymru, which is CYSON Cymru. And yeah, it's an exciting time for all of us, to be honest. It's a new everything's new, but it's also been quite stressful, especially for the directors of the company. But hey, so that's that. Back to the crematorium then. Actually, has anyone got any questions on that before I move on?
Thank you for the update. Is there anything you would like to add? Any work that's been ongoing at the crematorium? We were lucky. We had you the input this morning, with a visit, but some of the members weren't there. So is there anything you would like to add to any of that?
Yeah, so aside from the general maintenance, we've had to rebuild the gatepost again. Just on the carry this one, I think it's the third one. There's an ongoing issue with the boiler, which I was hoping to find out some information before this, but I couldn't get hold of the people I need to speak to. And there is, we got some continued refurbishment works around the entry to the cremators and some access to the roof of the flower garden. Yeah. Other than that, I think that's about it. Sorry, I haven't got a full list view because most of our systems now are new, so I haven't got all the old data, if you like, from what we were doing over the last couple of months. But I don't think there was anything other than that. Unless Kerry comes in on anything.
Let's just say that us that visited this morning can see there is a lot of work still going on, and a lot has happened. And like I just to mention, we had a tour and we could see the before and after, and what a difference, and what a future difference when everything is up and running and there's no mess around. And hopefully it'll come to all the councils and show all us other members on the councils what actually happens at the Crem and what the facilities do, and therefore for the families of bereaved. So thank you for that. And unfortunately, I can't get used to the new name because I'm used to Norse, but and it's on our paperwork, unfortunately. But anybody would like to ask anything of Carl before we move on to the next item? No? Yeah, by all.
Yeah, sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Right, can I just ask a question? I must give credit to Norse over the years, and naturally the staff at Gwent Crematorium. Right, they worked absolutely outstanding, and what they done was a credit to the building side. Who is taking over from Norse now?
So it's it's us, Cousin Cymru. We are essentially Norse in a new suit, if you like. It's all the same people transferred across. Aside from the managing director, we got a new managing director who's really good. He's done these sorts of things before. He's very commercially focused, so we'll be looking at all of our current procedures and charges and everything. And
just to clarify there, Mr. Chairman, Norse is its own company in subcontract with Newport City Council.
I think what Carl is trying to say is the same people, the same company, but it's been rebranded in a different name. Is that correct, Carl?
Yeah, just wholly owned now by Newport City Council.
Yeah. You okay with that? Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thank you, Carl, for that.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna say what you said, Carl. To be honest, I was just gonna come in because obviously I cover assets in the council, so I was just gonna sort of dip in and say, that it's as Carl said, it was a joint venture, but the joint venture period had come to an end, and obviously Newport wanted to carry on as seamless a service as possible. Obviously, while taking the opportunity to make improvements, changes, make it a wholly owned LATCO. But to all intents and purposes, it's the same company carrying out the same service with largely the same staff. I think the main thing is because we're splitting away from Norse, which is a big national group, some of those sort of backroom services had to change. So things that were hosted on a big Norse platform before are now being hosted on a specifically Cyson Cymru, Latco platform now. So those are the sort of changes, and that's why, for example, maybe Carl hasn't got access to all of the information yet, but I assume it's coming, Carl. I assume that's just a transitional thing. So there's nothing to worry about in that sense. That it is just, it's supposed to be, and hopefully will be, quite a seamless transition.
Yeah, so we always said that from the beginning that if we get this right, then there won't be any. The client won't notice any difference, and the majority of staff won't notice any difference. And the feedback we've had to date is that is the case. So so that is a win, I guess. But there's still a bit of work to do. Because like Kazal said, a lot of those services that were done centrally by the North Group in Norwich are now within just one business. So we've had to build things from the ground up, really, and therein lies the challenge. But yeah, like I say, it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. We've only got the one parent now instead of two, but hopefully she's a bit saner than the last one.
Thank you for that. We just got to get used to the new name, that was all. We're so used to the old name, that's what it is. But thank you for that anyway.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions before we move on to the funeral director's report? No? We'd like to move on to item 7 then, which is the funeral director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. First of all, 3 apologies. First apology for my phone going off. Right, unprofessional, and I do apologise for that. Unfortunately, I missed the walk around this morning, but I do thank Jill for giving me a ring to remind me. But unfortunately, I had a very early funeral this morning, so I had to take that on. And naturally, my apologies for not attending the last meeting. Again, the funeral trade took its priority. The only one thing that has been brought up from the funeral directors is going back, and this is for you, Kerry, the exit for the floral area onto the main carriageway. Is there any progress from Torfaen Borough Council?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Yeah, we're awaiting the report. They've had to put a traffic order forward. That work is in hand, so we're waiting to hear soon now. And then there should be some yellow lines at the entranceway, but I'll chase that up for you and get back to you.
Thank you, Kerry. No other business from me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. If there's any issue, welcome to come to me and I will take them forward with Torvine. So thank you for that. But it's nice to have a very short report from you, so there's no problems, which is excellent. Yeah. Yeah, but not Norse now, mine. We've got to change the name. But yeah, no, thanks for that. Any questions? Anybody want to ask the funeral director at all? No? But if not, we move on to the final one, which is the manager's report. If you'd like to do that, Kenny.
Thank you, Chair. So the manager's report set out on pages 27 to 30. So on page 27, we can see the statistics in terms of memorial and tribute sales across the number of months and the cremations over the last number of years directed by month. So you can see at the bottom there that we've grown the number of cremations over the last 2 years. So we turn the page over and we have a look at a diagram that basically explains the differences in numbers between 2024 and 2025 for the calendar years. So going back to Councillor Howard's position, really, if you look at July and August, we have 46 full cremation services in July, 98 in August. Throughout that period, we had an additional 19 days closures, which just under 4 full weeks. So in the worst of circumstances, we could have expected another 100 additional full cremation services in that period. So the business is growing. We have benefited greatly from the committee allowing us to drop the price on direct services and the inception of direct attends and also the Gwent local public health funeral services. So from those services, we can tell from nationally our direct attends have gone from 85 services which represented 6% of all services at the crematorium in 2024, to 178 services, I apologise, which represents 12% of all services in 2025. So nationally, the makeup of direct services in all funeral services is between 14% and 20%. So from the new price point, from our work with local funeral directors, we can see that now we are getting the share of direct services that we should be getting. FT are continually working on site to install the new larger FT3 cremator. As some of you will have seen today, it's been a long and arduous process, but it is set to be completed by the end of February, and we will be operational by the beginning of March. For that transition, we've been working closely with the team at Torfaen who permit the operations at site, and also the local funeral directors to ensure the permit variations and new paperwork as required can be rolled out seamlessly, and all our work is in hand. In terms of our staff, we're pleased to welcome Daniel Edwards, who has recently joined our team at the crematorium to fill the vacant administration role. Daniel brings valuable experience from a previous position in a busy crematorium and cemetery office at a neighbouring authority, and is already proven to be an asset to the service. Technical staff at the rear of the building have now been enrolled on the FBCA online training academy, and this provides continual professional development, which is essential as part of our permitting requirement. Some of you may be aware or may not be aware, the new process guidance notes have been issued this year for all crematoria from the government that covers operations across Britain. In terms of the new cremator, this will need to meet the newer, more stringent measures immediately upon operational startup, which it will do. In terms of machine 3 and 4, which are still existing machines, they'll have 4 years in which to comply with this new process guidance note. So the next 2 years of testing and usage of the new cremator will inform us on how to best progress when that 4-year date is up. In terms of service, schedule and related works, we're currently progressing with the update and implementation of Plotbox, which is the administration system. This will enhance the way we manage records and streamline operational processes. This upgrade is aimed at improving efficiency, accuracy and accessibility for both staff and service users. Funeral directors, for instance, will have access to an online portal where they can be with families out of office and they can still book cremation slots. Paperwork can be transmitted via this portal, allowing much more streamlined and ease of use. Those that attended today had a little tour of the gardens, which now appear in 3D on the system, allowing us to demonstrate to service users what the possibilities are in our gardens and allowing them to visit their loved ones virtually as well as in person. In addition, we're preparing for a transition to Orbitus, which will be our AV provider in the chapel. We've long worked with Wesley, but a recommendation from our local funeral directors via Mike in a previous meeting had mentioned that the private crematory either side of us operating Orbitus is a much more streamlined service. So we're working with them to implement that in June, and that won't allow us any service disruption, so it'll be a seamless transition. And just to close, there's a temporary closure of our neighbouring crematorium during the month of March. This may cause some disruption to local services, so in order to ensure continuity and support during this period, we'll be writing out to our stakeholders to confirm that we're well positioned to assist if needed. With our new cremator and enhanced storage facilities, we have the capacity to offer additional services and provide reassurance that we can accommodate any increased demand during this period. And that brings the...
Is there any questions you would like to ask, particularly the people who didn't visit this morning? I've got a couple of questions, if nobody has. With all the work going on at the crematorium, have we got some sort of idea when the completion date of everything is going to be done and you can get back to some normality? So we've got no workforce, no staff working on extra bits and not your own staff working out their own positions.
Yeah, definitely, Chair. The handover of the machine will take place, the cremator, will take place in the first week of March, so there will be training on site from the manufacturer for all staff present. Then we'll be operational. So in terms of the cremator install, that will be completed. We're awaiting Cyson Cymru for some quotations for some decoration work in the charging room that we viewed earlier today. So at the moment that is a little unsure as to when that will take place. But these ongoing works, like the AV system as well, which will take place in June, won't have any operational effect, and we'll still be able to operate fully.
Oh, that's brilliant. And the other thing, looking at page 29 with the July figures and the August figures, the other figures are quite positive on a lot of them, where there's an increase and not a decrease in a lot of them. So, looking at the shortfall for that month, I think we're not far away from that figure anyway, are we really? So.
Yeah. To be honest with you, the worst case scenario, Chair, for those 4 weeks would be 100 extra adult cremations, which would put us well ahead. And interestingly enough, would have provided the income that we're taking from the reserve to fund the 450,000.
So thank you for that. Would you like to come in?
Yeah, thank you. I also wanted to say thank you for the visit this morning, which was really interesting. But the question I wanted to ask was about sort of future communications. What sort of information are you planning to do for both sort of leaflet-wise and possibly IT online-wise?
With the advent of the new website, which is much more streamlined and much more user-friendly, we're able to work with a new system, Plotbox, and also Charter for the Bereaved, which we're a member of, with the ICCM, the Institute of Cemetery and Crematorium Management. So they advocate providing more information about things, for example, like living wills and communication strategies. So we're sitting down in the new year now with Newport's comms team in order to put a 12-month strategy together so that we can post, be relevant, and we can cover across all of the dates that families and the bereaved may consider important across a 12-month period. And in that, and along with the website, we hope to provide information, leaflets, and ideas of places where people can talk to plan the future, because we're aware that in our industry people don't talk enough about their future plans, and also may not have the information readily available to them. And I think in terms of speaking to different authorities, especially the 5 authorities, that'd be something we'd be more than happy to do. And we are looking also then to start open days when the majority of this work has been completed, so that we can invite stakeholders such as funeral directors, memorial masons, perhaps cemeteries from our local environment, so that people can have a one-stop shop across a weekend to ask any questions they want and be signposted to the relevant information.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important that we prompt people to think about things that perhaps they don't want to think about, and we provide them with kind of like information, you know, in order to make good decisions. And it's important that we support people in that way. The other thing we mentioned this morning about the history of our cemeteries and how interesting and extensive the history is as well. So it would be nice to make that accessible to people. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the you know, the future communications online and on paper when in due course.
Thank you for that. I totally agree. Councillor Howells, did you want to come in with a question, Kerry? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just following on from the Chair's question, really, I think, you know, looking at the numbers and given, as you say, the sort of hindrances of the capital works this year, those numbers look really positive, don't they? And, you know, coupled with the fact that a lot of that will be completed, fee increases, the new capacity with the additional piece of equipment, it all sounds like and feels like it's shaping up to be a really positive year next year. you know, so just be good to get a sense of, you know, is that a fair summary? You know, it looks really good and really optimistic. Is that a fair summary, or is there anything that is sort of causing you any concerns for the year to come?
There'll always be concerns. We're in a competitive market. We need to ensure that the facility is the best standard. Within the facility, we need to ensure that what's being provided is of the best standard, is current, and provides as much choice to the bereaved as possible. The refurbishment of the chapel definitely does that. The inception of the new AV system provider is definitely another step in the right direction. Continued conversations with valid stakeholders, independent funeral directors, private funeral directors, continues to happen. We involve them actively in every change that we make to get their feedback, and through Mike and his assistance, that's greatly appreciated. So, yeah, we're very excited. And we'd like to thank everybody for allowing us to invest in what is a fabulous public asset, and hopefully can continue to be for some time.
Councillor Hall, you happy with that, or?
Yeah, definitely. You don't get a much better answer than that in this job, do you? So
I'd like there to be go even further than some sort of presentation to elected members to know what actually they're for their ward residents, because a lot of people, particularly the older generation, are not online. So, you know, a presentation like that would go to the elected members or members working in the council, and they're able to, you know, talk to people within their communities. So, suggestion I said earlier, whether it can be adopted, I don't know. Yeah. Anybody got any other questions? Because that's the last item on the agenda. Unless anybody got anything they would like to raise. No, we all gone quiet. Well, anybody, thank everybody for their visit this morning, and thank everybody for their contribution today. And that will be the end of the meeting. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.